So this evening we're going to talk about, let me just make sure everybody's on mute. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Yes, so this evening we are going to discuss our intuition and why developing our intuition helps us in our life, why developing and how developing our intuition can actually change and transform our life. So I know when we hear change and transform our life, it seems very big, like, wow, what can actually really transform and completely change my life? And I am here to vouch for developing intuition, building intuition, and there are a lot of things that can really change and transform our life. Now, what do we mean by change and transform our life? Change and transform our life can mean anything from being able to sleep better at night, change and transform life. Change and transform can mean anything from going to the office on a daily basis and not getting bothered by coworkers, going to the office and not being disrupted by intense conversation that we have with our bosses. Change and transform can mean being in a relationship with someone and not, yeah, just sorry about that. We're on Facebook as well. So change and transform can also mean being in a relationship with someone and not allowing that person to completely take us out of our space, that we lose ourselves, or getting into an argument with that person and we're not triggered by it. Change and transform our life can mean so many different things. And so when I say developing our intuition, training our intuition can really literally change and transform our life, I deeply mean it. It deeply and completely changed and transformed my life. And so what do I mean by developing? So now everybody, I know a lot of you have been at Illuminations before, hearing all of our webinars. A lot of you are advanced students. You know, most of you understand intuition. Some of you want to understand it more deeply. So everybody has intuition, right? I'm sure you've heard this before, you've read it before. Every single one of us has intuition. We cannot not be intuitive because we are spirit. We are wearing this body, this physical body. We're here in this physical world, but we are spirit. And if we are spirit, then we act as spirit inside this body. When we come here and when we enter into this world, all the worldly issues, dilemmas, chaos, all this sort of clutters us, distracts us, and we sort of start to lose that connection to ourself slowly, slowly, slowly. So when we are born, we are 100% intuitive, okay? Our senses are completely open. And as we grow and as we come into this world, this life, these families, this culture, this society, we tend to lose that deep connection to ourselves slowly, 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 slowly. And everyone, depending on what they're going through or experiences they had, will either disconnect a little more, or some will even stay connected a little more. So it depends on a lot of factors: childhood experiences, life experiences, culture, society, where we are born and brought up, which will determine, do we stay connected to ourselves or do we start to disconnect to ourselves? And not only that, but there's a lot of experiences or traumas. So the more traumas that we've been through, the more that we start to disconnect from ourselves. And in that disconnection, we lose the ability to understand, to know our intuition, or to be intuitive. And so we come here to places like this, or we read these books and we wonder, how can I be intuitive, or how can I understand my intuition? Well, I want to say that it is a process of remembering and reconnecting. It is a deeply and highly natural, innate process to be intuitive. Now, using our intuition is a little different in the sense that we can be intuitive but not realize we're intuitive. We can be intuitive and not trust that we're intuitive, not trust the information coming through. We can be intuitive and we cannot hear what's coming through. Again, our daily life can distract us a lot, and so we're not deeply listening. And a lot of us are very busy between work, family, relationships, social life. This quiet time is really when we can start to hear and listen to what is going on. We're needing time without the TV blasting, without the music blasting, to listen what is really going on inside. What are these beyond the thoughts, right? So there's a lot of thoughts, but it's beyond the thoughts. Now, I always get, and I'm going to go through the 5 ways I believe developing and training your intuition can really change your life. But before I go further, a lot of people always ask the question, how do I know if it's my thoughts, my feelings, or my intuition? So one of the first steps in, or one of the first ways in being able to change our life is exactly that. When we train our intuition now, so I'm not just talking about listening to it once in a while or doing a meditation practice once in a while and then hearing something or feeling something. I'm talking about really developing it, committing to developing your intuition, committing to the practice of training your intuitive sense so that it can work for you. It can bring you what it really is built to bring you, or what it really truly is meant to bring you, which is peace, deep understanding. There's so many factors that being highly intuitive can really help you with. You understand people much better. You understand when something is happening and it doesn't feel right. So that's the biggest way that people come and say, you know, this is going on in my life, but I'm not sure, it doesn't feel right. And they get very confused over, is it really all my emotions? So when we develop our intuition, when we train our faculty, our intuitive faculty, our psychic senses, our higher senses to start to work for us. And when we train, it's exactly like training for anything else. When we train and when we practice, we get good at it, we're good at it, it comes easy, it comes often. So this is what I mean by not only just, okay, let's tune into our intuition today, or let's do this meditation one day, or let's do this 1 week, or, oh, I'm feeling very spiritual now, I want to just have a meditation. No, what I'm really meaning and talking about is developing, is training your intuition, training yourself to become more and more intuitive, training yourself really to hear and feel and sense your intuition more clearly, and I would say more rapidly. So that would be one of the ways developing your intuition can really shift and transform your life. You will understand, is this my thoughts? Is this my emotions? Is this my intuition? All 3 of those pieces have a very different essence, very different sense. And so with further development, you will start to understand, you know what, this is my thought process. I've been here before. I've thought like this before. I'm running that old tape. I'm very familiar with that old tape. This is definitely not my intuition. This is my thoughts, the runaway train. Also, ego comes into play, wanting me to think something, but I really know it's my thought system. The other piece is emotions. How do we know, oh, it's just my emotions wanting something or feeling something, but it's really not intuition? So here again, when we develop, when we train our intuition, we start to understand, we start to decipher where and when we get so emotional that our emotions overtake us. When our emotions overtake us, we can't see clearly. It's like we cannot see beyond the clouds. We can't see the sky for the clouds. So developing our intuition, being committed to developing that, will help you start to, it's like sifting through, right? Sifting through, okay, this is the thoughts. And we put our thoughts in that path or that package, that box. And then this is my emotions. And wait a minute, this is not my thoughts. This is not my emotion. This feels like, this sense like, this seems like my intuition. So again, these 3 aspects feel different, okay? When we're really in our mind and it's all thought process, when we're really in our emotions and it's all emotional process. Now, some people are more thought, more emotion. However, we have both. We all have both. We all have all 3. And when we feel that and we start to feel into, wait a minute, this is different. This feels different. This even sounds different. intuition comes lighter, it comes quicker, it comes spontaneously when you least expect it, when you're not expecting it. It never really comes in the moment you ask the question, but you ask the question and then it slowly comes in. Intuition can also guide you or lead you to see different signals or signs or clues. So that's a little bit more intuition, as opposed to emotions, where we're just sort of drowning in how we're feeling and we cannot even move out. And then the mind sort of takes us on a runaway, either a roller coaster or a runaway train, runaway horse, and we can't get out of this loop. So again, just recapping, this is one way, one really, truly, deeply amazing way we can shift and change and transform our life. Just that alone is completely transformational when we're able to really understand, okay, this is my thought process. I'm not going to go into it. This is my emotions. I'm not going there. Oh yeah, this is coming from intuition. I understand. I know. This is my intuition. So next, the other way that developing and getting committed to really not only developing our intuition. So what happens over time is that we're not just developing our intuition, we are getting to know ourselves on a much deeper level. We can live our life on the surface, and we can live our life skimming the surface of who we are. Okay, we can live our life sort of by someone else's means. We go to the office, we go to work, and we get pulled into the drama of the office or work. Family, in-law family, friends, a lot of friends getting pulled into their energy, getting pulled into our partner, our spouse, or our boyfriend's energy. And then who are we, right? We're just sort of pulled in different places. And again, that disconnection of who we are. And so when we start to develop or take time to develop an aspect of ourself that is ours, right? When you develop your intuition, when you commit to developing that, this is yours to keep. No one can ever take this away from you, and you have this for life, right? It's like a priceless gift or a priceless purchase. You have this for life. You can always fall back and depend on it. It's always there working for you. So when we develop our intuition, another way that this can shift and transform our life is we get to know ourselves on such a much deeper level. And we start to connect to ourselves more and more, and we're not pulled here, we're not pulled there, we're not pulled in all these different places. We're able to remain in our own energy. We're able to remain in our own center. Yes, life may still pull us out in so many different places, absolutely. But as we develop more and more, we have the ability, because we learn tools, we have the ability to bring ourselves back. So no one is ever saying that, oh, once you develop your intuition, you become an avatar or an expert or a pro. It's really practice every single day. But when we have a base, when we've built ourselves a foundation, when we learn tools, when we start to really understand ourselves, this is the biggest, I want to say, one of the biggest gifts we can ever give ourselves is deep understanding of who we are, deep understanding of who you are. And so when we do understand that, even when we're pulled away, even when we're pulled in different directions, life can get really busy, really hectic, a lot can happen in life, but we have the ability to come back. I know this is going on around me, but I know how to come back to myself. And when we come back to ourselves is really where we can find peace amongst the storm, amongst whatever is happening in life. When we are able to come back to self, when we are able to reconnect to ourself, is where we find peace. So understanding how to do that, again, is another what I consider a really priceless gift. It's something that will never go away and you will have forever. So throughout the course of life, we go through a lot of different phases of life. So many things can happen in life. Great things, hard things, things that we feel we're suffering, things that we feel like we're victims of. However, no matter what is happening in your life, we all have the ability to find that place within where we can be okay. And so this is, I want to say, another huge way that developing and training ourselves to become more and more intuitive, more and more connected to ourself, can really shift and transform our life. Another way that developing this faculty can really help us. Now, this is a big one because I hear it all the time. All the time I get people coming in, I feel drained. I go to the office and I'm feeling good, and by the end of the day, I'm completely drained. Or I go to my in-laws' house, and after I come back from my in-laws' house, I'm completely drained. Or my parents' house. I get on the phone with my mother, and all of a sudden, I'm completely drained. There's a lot of this going on. And what happens is that we feel completely drained. All of a sudden, we feel something shifted in our energy. We don't understand what it is. All we know and all we understand is what we feel. We don't understand fully that it's energy, it's energetic, but we just understand how we feel. One moment we're feeling okay, and then all of a sudden, we're not feeling so good. We're feeling lethargic, we're feeling tired, we may even be feeling nauseous, we just want to sleep. And we start getting frustrated if this continues to happen more and more and more and more. But the thing is, most of the time, so I cannot say 100%, but most of the time, we are picking up other people's energy. This happens all the time. Even to me, I'm not immune to it just because I do this work or I teach this work. I am not immune. We are all energy beings. We're all dynamic, and we're all moving about. And there's all kinds of things happening within, around us, and we're all susceptible to other people's energy. So when we can understand how to decipher, this is my energy, something doesn't feel right, this is someone else's energy. This is a game changer, a life changer, when we can understand, when we have the ability to understand, to decipher, this is not my energy. And then we have the ability to send that energy back, give that energy back to whoever it is. Sometimes we know, sometimes we don't know, sometimes it's a place. We walk into a place and we pick up the energy of the place. I always give the example every single time. I used to go into the huge Carrefour in Mall of the Emirates. I used to get an energy drain, and I knew right away I have to get out of that place. That place, for whatever, is not for me. My energy didn't like to be there. Maybe it was the day, but I use tools and I get out instead of just staying there and sort of suffering through it. So again, no one is immune. We're energy beings, but what we do have, we have tools. When we develop, when we take the time, when we commit to developing ourself, we gain tools. We understand, wait a minute, something's happening to my energy. Let me use specific tools. Let me shift my energy so that I don't have to be picking up other people's energy. So tools are very simple, but highly, highly, highly effective. And when we start to do, when we develop ourselves more, we learn different tools. What happens is that we develop like a toolkit, or we create or develop resources for ourselves. So in order for us to really live this successful, happy, beautiful life that we all deeply desire on some level, we all deeply desire it, we have to take care of ourselves so that we can actually manifest or create that life for ourselves. And how we do that is self-care. And self-care can mean everything from getting a pedicure to having a nap to going on vacation to learning about ourselves, learning deeply about our own energy system. We are not just this flesh and bone, we are energy. And our energy is constantly being affected by other people, places, times in our life. So if we can start to understand, really understand our own energy system, how we feel when certain things come at us, what's happening to our energy, again, we can start to understand this is not mine. And we can start to be able to give other people's energy back, or simply just clear our own energy. Now, yes, it's beautiful. It's nice to have our energy cleared and go for energy sessions. But at the same time, it's also nice to be able to do it ourselves. We get the best of both worlds that way, really. It's like going to a spa, and you can have a spa day at home, and you can also go to a spa. You can get an energy clearing session, and you can also learn how to clear your own energy. And what I really say about all this is it's empowerment. So that's, I want to come into that as a third way or third step. But right before I move on, understanding someone else's energy and your energy and how your energy gets affected throughout the day, and being able to clear your own energy or take care of your own energy is absolutely, completely transformational and life-changing. You are not at the mercy of life. You're not at the mercy of having a bad day. Oh, I'm just having a bad day. I'm having a bad day. I keep on having bad days. Well, maybe it's just your energy. Maybe if you can employ a few tools, you can clear your energy and you can learn how to manage your own energy and other people's energy. So when we can understand that, what is our energy, what we're taking on, and what is the other person's energy, and be able to take care of ourselves in that situation, we're completely empowering ourselves. And so that kind of brings me into the next method or way or step, and how building our intuition or developing can really help us. So I like to say that when we really develop our intuition, when we really, again, make that commitment, what we're really doing is empowering ourselves. Absolutely 100%. This is self-empowerment. A lot of people ask me, well, how do I become more empowered? How do I do it? And again, it's practice, right? It's practice. And when we can start to understand when it's our energy, when it's not, when we can start to sift through our own emotions, our thought forms, other, intuition, when we can understand our own energy, when we can bring ourselves back to ourselves, when we can reconnect to ourselves in a minute. A lot of people will say, I feel so disconnected from myself. I feel so lost. A lot of times it's just because we've disconnected. A lot of times when we're feeling lonely, it's really because we've deeply disconnected from our own self. And so when we have the ability to reconnect, to be able to reconnect even in a moment, this is absolutely empowering. This is empowerment for me. This is empowerment at its best. What else can we, how else can we be so incredibly empowered when we're just able to take care of ourselves no matter what's happening around us? No matter what is happening around us, we are able to take care of self. No matter what is happening in your life, no matter what, you have tools. When you start to develop, you will, again, create your little toolbox, and you can go in there at any moment's notice and just pick a tool, use a tool, and start to feel better. We can feel better in an instant. Okay, we can feel better in an instant. And this for me is completely empowerment. Now, this brings me a little bit into when I say, or when I tell people about training this or developing this, the first thing I always say, above and beyond being able to be intuitive and knowing things that maybe the layperson doesn't know, beyond that, we develop such a deep trust in ourselves, and we start to develop so much more confidence in ourselves and in life in general. So developing confidence comes from the ability to pretty much everything that I've just said. I'm not going to go back and repeat it all of the pieces that I just said. Now, over time, if we do that over time, what happens? What really happens? Yes, our life shifts and changes, but what really happens? We literally become more confident. We develop our self-confidence. And what is the one thing that so many of us deeply desire to develop? Confidence. I would love to have more confidence. I would love to be able to trust myself more. Now, trust and confidence is almost two different areas. However, they kind of meet and mix together. But developing our confidence. So when we, again, how do we develop, why does confidence develop when we develop or train our intuitive abilities? Because over time, we start to understand ourselves, we start to understand other people, and we start to see things, feel things, and understand that, okay, this is my intuition. This is coming to me from the intuitive channel. It's not my energy, it's not my emotions, it's not my thoughts. And things actually start to occur in life, and you start to get confirmation. Okay. And I'm not saying, tonight I'm going to go to the movies, it's going to be sold out. I'm talking about a little bit deeper things that are more on a subtle level. So you come into and I know this happens for a lot of people. You come into the office and all of a sudden there's a change. There's changes happening in the office, but you sort of intuited that ahead of time. Now, when you develop it and you take time to develop it, when you are intuiting something, you really take notice of the confirmations that are happening. Okay. So when you take notice of the confirmations, you take a moment. It's a moment of, wow, really, I saw that, or I felt that, or I knew that. And it's not about, oh yeah, it was just my imagination. Oh, it was just a coincidence. No, and I have a lot to say about imagination, but I won't go there at the moment. No, it becomes about, yes, I intuited that, I felt that, I sensed that, and this is actually happening. And then it happens again, and then it happens again, and then it happens again. And what happens over time is you start to build that confidence muscle, that self-confidence muscle. Now, that's not the only way that you build confidence with developing this. Again, just going back to what I said before, when we understand our own energy, when we know that, hey, this is really not my energy, this is someone else's energy, over time, again, when we can continue giving other people stuff back and become more and more and more of who we are, our natural gift is confidence. We are not supposed to be not confident or unconfident. We are naturally confident beings. We all have abilities, we all have beauties and potentials, and we are confident beings. It's the mind stuff, it's the emotional stuff, it's all the old baggage that sort of breaks that down. And so when we move out of old baggage, childhood stuff, wounds, past traumas, mind, emotions, and we move into the emotional arena, the intuitive arena, we start to live here a little bit more than we live here. Now, here is where we have all the doubts. Oh yeah, is it me? Is it not me? Was it just coincidence, my imagination? It's so much doubt. But when we move here and when we rest here for a little while, when we, not only when we rest here for a little while, but when we work here a little while, when we develop this a little, when we spend a lot more time here, doubt doesn't exist here. Self-doubt does not exist. Now, what is one of the biggest ways to collapse confidence is bring in self-doubt. Okay. I feel this, I want to do this, I want to get this job, and we're super confident we're getting the job, and then self-doubt comes in, and self-doubt comes in, and self-doubt comes in, and what happens energetically is we start to break down. Now, intuitively, you know what? I get a really strong sense that this is going to happen for me, or I get a really strong sense that this is going to be a good day. And we live a little bit more here. Doubt doesn't have room. Doubt doesn't have a room in this house. Okay. And so over time, we really start to build our confidence. Now, I am saying confidence. I'm not saying overconfidence. That's a whole other topic. And that, of course, can happen when we don't properly train ourselves. This is not about, I know everything, I know more than this person, I know all this. No, this is about knowing what you need to know and staying on the ground, right? Staying grounded, staying on the ground, staying in your center and just having that deeper knowing, and not only having that deeper knowing, because we all have it, but being able to trust it. And this is where self-trust comes in, being able to trust self. So being able to trust self. And we start to trust ourselves more and more when things start to work out for ourselves. So if nothing is ever working out for you, and you're always sort of in your mind and in bad moods, and we start to lose trust. Now, trusting life, trusting self does definitely come from a lot of past traumas, experiences, childhood conditioning, all of that stuff. However, once again, we can train ourselves to start to trust ourselves more and more. And really, the way we do it is with practice. Okay, so when we employ all of sort of what I've been talking about, self-trust naturally starts to happen. Naturally starts to happen. You won't even notice that you're starting to trust. You're starting to trust yourself more and more and more. Self-trust comes when we get validation, but we don't need validation from the outside world. I don't mean validation by having someone validate us. What I mean by validation is feeling something, knowing something, and then seeing it happen in this dimension, in this reality, in this physical world, not only in this physical reality, but that's what I mean by getting validation or confirmation. So I'll actually not say validation, I'll use the word confirmation, okay? So the more confirmation that we get along the way, the more we start to deeply trust ourselves. Now, trust doesn't happen, that self-trust doesn't happen overnight. Again, practice, it's a process, it's practice. But again, when you commit to yourself, when you commit to developing yourself, when you commit to developing your intuition, self-trust is a guarantee. Okay, it just happens again over time. It happens. It's not even something you have to worry about. It's not even something that you have to develop. It is a byproduct of developing your intuition. It happens naturally. And having self-trust and being able to trust yourself, again, is one of the biggest gifts that we can ever give ourselves. When we can really trust ourselves, what better is there? No matter what is happening in our life, no matter what direction we take or where we choose to go, even when we choose something or decide something that we question, you know, I really felt strongly, or I really intuited that this is what I had to do. And then you do it and you start to question, not doubt, but question. And what happens, like in a second, but I know I was guided here. I intuited it. This was the right thing for me. And we just trust. It's hard for me sometimes to put words to these experiences because they are experiences. And when they start to happen in your life, they start to happen subtly and they start to happen more. And sooner or later, your life just is completely different and is completely changed. And that doesn't mean that you have no issues and you're happy all the time. No one is supposed to be happy all the time. It just means that your life as you knew it before, what you suffered with before, what you struggled with before, becomes less and less and less and less. And that is how your life completely shifts and changes. One last thing that I want to mention about when we develop our intuition and, you know, how can that change our life? I touched upon it a little bit, but I'm going to go a little bit more deeply into it. So when we become more intuitive, and when I talk, I'm talking about the training ourselves to become intuitive, really training ourselves, developing, committing to ourselves, developing and using tools and resources. And when we do so, what starts to happen is we start to get to know ourselves on a much deeper level. But not only ourselves, we start to get to know the other person on a much deeper level. We start to get to know other people on a much deeper level. We start to get to understand the human condition. So things, again, just going back to what I mentioned before, things don't just stay on the surface. We're not just living on the surface. Oh, he did, she did, he did, she did, he did, she did. We are starting to go a little bit deeper. We're starting to understand the human condition. And that's not just for ourselves, but it's also for the other. And so if you begin to understand other people better, and you start to understand why they do what they do, why they don't do what they need to do, quote unquote, according to perhaps you, why they behave as they do, why they say what they say, etc., etc. When you can start to understand deeper, not on the surface. Oh, he's angry, so he's screaming at everyone. This person is not nice person. This person is mean. This person is not nice because they're screaming at everyone. That's surface. Okay, that's surface. But when we start to, again, understand ourselves more deeply, and then we start to connect and understand the other person more deeply, we start to understand something's happening there. Something on a deeper emotional layer is happening to her. This is not about justifying anyone's behavior, yes, right or wrong. It's about understanding the human condition, human suffering, because we all do, certain degree, certain level, we all do somehow, some way, minute form and large forms. And so when we become more intuitive, when we live again on this side and we're out of mind and emotions and the blame game and I deserve this, I should have this, all that stuff, and we're living more in the intuitive realm, we start to intuit other people and their stuff. We start to understand. Now, it's not because we can see everything. That's not true. We can't just see everything about someone else. And everyone has the right to their own life privacy. It's what I'm meaning is that we intuit. There's a subtleness that we either feel or we sense or we know that person is going through something really, really hard right now. And they're angry. Again, doesn't justify, but it gives you a deeper understanding of the other person. Now, when you have a deeper understanding of the other person, you will get less triggered. You will be more, less affected. You perhaps will react differently. And when you react differently, and when you move into a situation with a person from a different space, from the space of, okay, I don't like your behavior. However, intuitively, I know something's going on here. I get a sense of maybe what it is, but I'm not going to go there. That's, you know, you don't tell this, but you're feeling this. And you can come to that person, or you could come to that place, or you can come to the table in a much more neutral place, as opposed to guns blazing. And coming to the table, oh gosh, this person is really gonna get angry. I'm getting angry too. And then what happens is both guns are blazing. What happens? Nothing happens. There's more destruction. There's more separation. There's no peace. Now, if I'm moving into that place and I'm understanding on a deeper level, an intuitive level, that this person is going through something, I can move into, I can choose. We always have the choice. Whether we're intuitive or not, we can choose to stay on this side or to stay on this side. We can choose to live more in the intuitive, I would say spiritual, you can call it, realm, or we can choose to live here. Now, we live in both places. It's not like we're always living in one, but situation to situation, we have the choice. Do I really want to feel into my intuition here and understand, or am I just going to stay on this side? So always have the choice, but the fact that you have a choice, the fact that you're just not reactional, the fact that you took a moment intuitively, or the intuition came through, you felt it, you sensed it clearly, and then you have a choice how to react or how to respond or not at all. That choice is empowerment. That choice is empowerment. You are more self-empowered. Empowerment doesn't just happen. We don't just wake up and we're empowered. It's practice. It's day by day, day by day, day by day. It's choices. Any single time we have a choice, or anytime we create a choice for ourselves, we empower ourselves. And so when we develop and build our intuitive abilities, and we create more choices for ourselves, therefore we become more empowered. Therefore our life starts to shift and change. Our life starts to transform. And so I speak from personal experience. I got into this work a long back, and I've been developing it over the years. And from personal experience, I can say how developing your intuitive faculties can deeply and completely transform and change your life. And I can go on, there's so much more to say. However, I've said a lot already, and I know we're only at 43 minutes here. I want to see if there's any questions or comments. And again, I just want to mention that intuition is your innate, natural ability, completely natural. It's in you. You have it. You don't not have it. Yes, some people can be more naturally intuitive, so they're more in touch with that part of themselves. They're more connected to that part of themselves, but it's not because they have it and you don't. It just means that they're more connected than you are. And the good news is that you can develop a way to start to connect more and more and more. Now, when I talk about training, again, I really mean not, oh, just once in a while, let's go to a meditation and let's get intuitive, or I really mean committing to training. And so that can look self-training. That can look, okay, I'm going to get every single book there is on intuition and I'm going to self-teach myself now. We can't really self-teach ourselves intuition. Again, it's an experience, it's what we have, but we can teach ourselves tools. So when we start to apply tools, we start to develop, okay? So I'm going to use a metaphor of a bicycle. When we start to ride the bicycle, we don't just throw ourselves on and we ride the bicycle like this. Number one, this is a little bit different than tools, but there's a method to riding a bicycle in which someone tells us. And so when we get on the bike, there's a particular way to get on. There's a way to place our feet. There's a place where we have to hold on. There's a place for a brake. In the beginning, we have training wheels. We go slow. We don't go fast. And over time, it becomes habit. You just jump on the bike and you know exactly what to do. Whether it's a motorbike or a bicycle bike, there's methods for doing it, and we're shown those methods. And when we apply those methods, and then when we practice those methods over and over, we become great bike riders, great on the bicycle. There's a method. And so the same thing for intuition. Now, because we are humans having this spiritual experience, the human needs methods. When we receive methods, we begin to understand what to do, how to do it. So there are methods to developing your intuition. And the method that I use, the method that I practice, and the method that has worked for me, the method that has completely changed my life, is the training called clairvoyant training. So being intuitive can look so many different ways. And there's so many different ways to develop it. You can go out there and get all the books and learn all the tools. You can sit in meditation for hours and hours a day, a lot of methods. But the method that has really worked for me is clairvoyance. When I started to develop my clairvoyant ability, my intuition at the same time, because any faculty is developing your intuition. Now, clairvoyance, for the people who don't know it, is clear seeing. There is also clairaudience, which is clear hearing. There's clairsentience, which is clear feeling. There's claircognizance, which is clear knowing. These are the ways in which we receive our intuition, where we receive the information. So a lot of people will say, I'm hearing, or I am seeing, or I'm feeling, or I know. These are generally the common ways how we receive our intuition. And so when I chose to develop my clairvoyance, and it just sort of naturally happened. And when I started to develop my clairvoyance, which with methodical training, I became, my intuition just turned on completely. And I was able to start to give people readings, which actually sit down in a space and actually give people a whole intuitive reading. And that, giving someone a reading, there's a lot of benefits to that, which I won't go into at the moment, because this is really about how just developing our intuition can change our life. And we can start to understand how to read ourselves, which is a very, how can I say, not a black and white process. And it's a very interesting process to start to, how can we actually do some readings for ourselves? How can we, the questions we have on a daily basis, how can we sit back and actually look into that with intention? I'm going to sit with intention, and I'm going to direct all my focus, and I'm going to see. I want to see something. I have a question and I want to see. So there's many tools. And when we start to learn all of these tools and we start to apply them and practice them, again, your life cannot not change. Your life cannot not transform. It's just not possible. Again, many methods out there. Intuition is something that you innately have, naturally have. Many methods out there. Not all methods are for each one of us. You might have a different method. The other person might have a different method, but whatever works for you, whatever resonates for you, whatever is helping you feel more empowered, whatever is helping you feel more deeply connected to yourself, whatever is helping you develop that self-confidence and that self-trust, and whatever you feel right doing is the path for you, is the method for you. So I am on here. Okay, I think something happened on our Facebook Live. Not so sure. Anyway, so I'm on here really bringing more awareness to the intuition. You know, everybody knows about it. Everybody talks about it. Everybody really wants to be more intuitive. So I'm here really starting to bring more awareness to our intuition. And I'm also here to help people develop it. I had someone help me develop it, and that changed my life. And now I sort of want to pay it forward and help someone else, or all of you, or some of you, develop it as well. And so that's where I come into the clairvoyant training, which I'll go into at another time. If anybody's interested, you can always contact me at Illuminations. Just send me an email or a message, and we can talk more about it. But I do a training at the center. It's a couple of level trainings, but the first level is a 4-day training. And we learn a lot of these tools. And that's just the beginning, right? It's not, okay, we're gonna come to a training and it's just the beginning of a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful journey. So, okay. So I think I've said most of what I wanted to say. The other thing I want to say is next week, same time. So Wednesday next week, I will be talking a little bit about my own personal journey with clairvoyance. And I will be inviting some students who've been through the training to kind of come on and talk about their experience with the training, talk about their experience in developing their intuition, talk about their experience in developing their clairvoyant abilities. And so that will be fun. And then the week after that, I'm also will be on, we'll do a whole Q&A, whole question and answer session. I will bring some people on live on Instagram so that we can really kind of get in there and unpack what this is all about, the psychic world, intuition, clairvoyance, healing, energy. There's a lot of terms. So we're gonna sort of unpack all of that. And yeah, so let's just see. We have a few moments left for any questions. Okay, so I'm on live Instagram, there's Facebook, and then there is Zoom. So let me just go into, I have the Instagram in front of me, so I'm going to see, okay, let me see if I can get some questions here. Okay. Okay, so, okay. I have a long question that I won't be able to read at this moment, but I will try and save that and see if I can get back to you on that one. And then I'm going to come into Instagram. I saw a few questions pop in. I'm going to try and go back to the beginning and see. Okay. Okay. Okay, so there's a question here about how to mentally and emotionally draw boundaries with people around us without telling them if it's not possible. So I'm not sure what you mean by if it's not possible, but yes, you can absolutely draw these mental and emotional boundaries for yourself. Now, again, that's practice. Again, there's tools, there's methods to do so. But what I want to say to you is that the more you start to understand and know yourself and the way that you respond and react and what's good for you, what's not good for you, what's triggering for you, what's not triggering, this, I want to say, is one of the parts, one of the ways in which we start to understand boundaries. Boundaries is a whole other big topic. And when we do develop our intuition, we actually learn how to understand boundaries more, right? My energy, the other person's energy, there's a boundary in between that. They're not connecting. There's something there that sort of separates energy. So when you said how to do that, again, like I mentioned, there's so many different methods, but what's coming for you is just continue the journey of knowing yourself, because that journey of knowing yourself, you will start to automatically understand where you have to put a boundary. You'll start to understand and see, oh, I let that person really close to me and then I'm not feeling good. So it's really getting to know yourself first and foremost to understand where do I have to put this boundary, and what situations maybe do I want to keep away from, not avoid, but keep away from. How do I want to, I don't like to use the word protect, but how do I self-care? How do I take care of my energy? And so if you're not feeling good one day and you have to go to a gathering or a party and you go, okay, well, there may have been a boundary with the host who invited you, and you are not having the ability to say no, and then you go and then you're feeling even more worse and you're picking up all this energy. So that also is boundary. Boundary can be very vast. So again, understanding yourself, developing respect for yourself and self-care can help you start to understand where you have to put those boundaries and start to want to put boundaries. We want to feel good. So I'll leave that there. You can, okay, let's just see another question. How can I differentiate between intuition and mind? Yeah, so I did mention that at the beginning of this session. The easiest answer that I can say right now is practice. Really practice. And practice, and what that means is, again, when we do train and when we develop our intuition, when we get committed to doing that, we will naturally start to know what is our mind, what is our emotion, what is our, it's almost like doing the laundry and you have like the blacks, the whites, and the colors. Okay, so black clothes is the mind, white clothes is the emotions, and then the colorful laundry is all the intuition. You know, and you start, and so like laundry, a lot of people just throw everything in and then their white shirt becomes red and all of that. Over time you learn, okay, let me just put the reds with the reds, or the colors with the colors. So it's a metaphor, it's a little funny example, but it's very similar. It's with practice. It's with practice. Self-practice, practice. Something comes in and you question, okay, is this mind? Is this my emotions? Or is this really my intuition? Practice. It's like testing yourself, testing the waters, and then see, no judgment, just becoming observing, just becoming an observer. Observe. So what I would say to you for a little while is just observe. Just observe what's happening in the internal landscape. Just observe. Oh, I think that's my mind because I'm going in a loop. Or I think that's my emotions kind of feeling so bad or down or drawn to someone. Or this feels different. So one of the first steps is becoming the observer to your mind, emotions, and intuition, becoming an observer. I would say that is one of the first steps, but again, practice, practice, practice. And when you have tools, you're able to practice more and more. And over time, you'll be able to differentiate it. Okay, I think there's another, okay, so I had another question here. How can we tell if we're just being paranoid or being intuitive? Exactly the same as I just mentioned. Again, it's really over time, and you want to start to become the observer to yourself. And okay, we're coming to the end, but okay, so somebody just asked me, can you give us one practical tip or give, and I want to give you that tip of becoming the observer. It might sound weird. You might be asking, what does that mean? It just means watching what is happening. Can you, for a moment, so let's say something happens in your life and you get really involved, can you step out for a moment? Almost like you're literally stepping out of your body and you're just sort of watching. What's happening? What's happening to me? How am I feeling? What am I thinking? What's going on? So I want to say one very concrete tip is to become the observer. Again, how do we do that? It's with practice. If you don't start, then you won't be able to really understand how to do it. But so I'll give you an example. Okay, food. Let's use a very, very, very basic example that has no, well, I won't say no emotional. Somebody called me out on that recently, that it's highly emotional area, but food choice, okay? So tonight, when you eat dinner, or tomorrow when you eat breakfast or lunch, just observe. Choose something and see, how do you feel after eating it? How do you feel that you made that choice? Again, it's very basic. We want to start with something basic and then sort of go into the deeper decisions and processes in our life. How did you feel? Do you believe it was the right choice that you made? Or when you go to a restaurant, a lot of people will have a really hard time deciding, like, what should I eat? Should I eat this? Should I eat that? Just choose something. Notice where it's sort of coming from. Are you sitting in your mind? Are you really in your emotional self? Or is it just a decision that came? You just sort of knew, I'm going to eat this tonight, or this will be good for me tonight. Just observe your decision process, your thoughts, your feelings, and anything else that's happening. The Instagram is going to cut us off. So I will end with the questions. Again, please remember that not next Wednesday, the Wednesday after, I'll do a full Q&A session so you can hop on the same time. Next Wednesday, I'm doing a little interview process so you get to meet some students and maybe ask them some questions directly. It will be a really fun time. So I really invite you to that. Please get in touch with me if you want to learn more, if you want to know more. You can always do a consult. And I hope to see you soon at Illuminations or online or somewhere. It was a beautiful pleasure to share this work with you. And thank you so much. I will all see you soon. Bye. So we're ending the live. Yes. And then we're ending Zoom. Bye, everybody.